Now I give you the overview of respiratory system. Respiratory system, the process of breathing. So we have a windpipe, so like a branching of a tree. If you imagine a tree has its roots, tree has its stem, tree has its branches and the leaves. If you can invert the tree and hold it like this, imagine. So the trunk of a tree will be like a trachea, windpipe. The trunk will, imagine the trunk is dividing into two. You are holding the tree upside down. Imagine they have two divisions. So those divisions are the bronchus, right bronchus, left bronchus. So then this bronchus will go further divide into 17 to 19 smaller divisions or branches, and it will at last it will end up in the form of respiratory bronchiole or smallest tube of the respiration, and it will end with a grape like structure. We call it as alveoli. Alveoli is a part where there is a mechanical chemical subtle exchange of gas will happen. So gross breathing as a breathing in and breathing out is different. Exchange of oxygen at this level of alveoli is different. So mechanical respiration is breathing in and breathing out process. Chemical respiration is at the level of alveoli there is a exchange of gas. Inside of your veins the carbon dioxide is more, so inside of the alveoli carbon dioxide is less. So there is a energy gradient. So energy gradient higher to lower. So carbon dioxide goes from the cells to the inside of the alveoli. Inside the alveoli already oxygen is more. Inside the the veins and arteries, oxygen saturation is less. So oxygen moves from higher gradient to a lower gradient. This is how there is an exchange of gas. So as a part where grossly I explained about windpipe dividing into two and further division into 17 to 19 subdivisions, then ending up with a grape like structures called as alveoli. So this is a complete gross structure of an respiratory system. So it has been supported by a major muscle called as a diaphragm, which is dividing. Diaphragm is a muscle which will divide the stomach cavity and the thoracic cavity. So diaphragm is a muscle which will help us, aids us for the breathing in and breathing out, along with the muscles in between the ribs called as intercostal muscles. Intercostal muscles along with the diaphragm will help you for breathing in and breathing out. How? Just imagine when the diaphragm is contracting, it is becoming flat. Intra-abdominal contents are increasing. So how to feel the diaphragm is when you are breathing in, feel that your stomach is bulging out. When your stomach is bulging out, it means that the dome-shaped diaphragm is contracting. So when it is contracting, it is creating a space here, empty space or vacuum. Compared to the external environment pressure, the internal environment pressure is less. So energy goes from higher to lower, higher pressure to lower pressure. So that is the process of inhalation or inspiration. So the intercostal muscles will expand outward and upward movement, diaphragm downward movement. So this will create a space. And when you breathe out, the diaphragm contracts, the intercostal muscles, when the diaphragm relaxes and the intercostal muscles relaxes, the diaphragm moves up, intercostal muscles moves down, inwards. The space within the chest cavity will increase compared to the outside space. So in this process, actually from higher gradient to lower gradient energy flows. So you will have an exhalation, exhale out. So this is a process. This is been synced with the mind control, brain control, where the brain is under the control of inhalation and exhalation with its innate nature, where amount of oxygen needed for the bodily functions, it will have a set point in your brain stem, medulla oblongata, as a respiratory center. Respiratory center is the one which will design and tell you that are you doing hyperventilation, are you doing hypoventilation, are you not having enough oxygen with you, or are you having more of oxygen with you. So this is how the brain is in control of the respiration. So through the form of respiratory center in the brain stem. Along with the respiratory center, there is also hunger center, there is also heart center, there is also chemical sensing centers in the body. So this brain stem is a very vital part of the body, where they'll, for example, if somebody is having brain stem injuries or a bleeding at this brain stem, difficult to survive because nobody wants to operate that area because it is vital area. If you do anything with that particular area, you are endangering the major centers. So another one is a temperature center is there in the that medulla oblongata. So by explaining you this, which is like a gross explanation of anatomy and physiology and a subtle explanation of oxygen exchange between the alveoli, when you are doing Nadi Shodhana Pranayama, actually there is a research says that by nostril breathing, each one of us at one particular time of your day, one nostril will be dominant. After 40 or 45 minutes or so, the another nostril will become dominant. So by nostril dominance, there is a research, you can read about that. When you are doing Nadi Shodhana Pranayama, so you are doing a Nasika Mudra and folding this, closing the right nostril, breathing out, breathing in, close, breathe out, breathe in, close, breathe out, one process. So when you're doing this, actually what you're doing is, so you're actually working on the subtle forms of nadis. So this is invisible structure. If you have your mobile with you, if I, in this AC environment, if I exhale, in exhale you will see that, if you're able to see, there are two, because of the humidity of the exhaled breath, there is a two. So my left nostril disappeared fast, right nostril was still staying. So it means at this moment my right nostril is dominant. When you do Nadi Shodhana Pranayama, actually Nadi Shodhana Pranayama should be complete only when you do the binostril dominance is equalized. So both sides of your exhaled air from the nose will be equal. So then the one particular form of Nadi Shodhana Pranayama for that particular person is over. It's not that only do 30 counts, no. So that is a process of breathing, but it may not be being established in the Nadi Shodhana Pranayama. Being established in the pranayama is different, just doing the pranayama breathing technique is different. So when you are doing breathing, you should be aware of inhalation, exhalation, how the diaphragm is moving, how the intercostal muscles are moving, a little bit of that. If you have the knowledge, it will be easy for you to comprehend. When you comprehend, you will have a right knowledge. Ignorance is different. Right knowledge, okay, now I breathing in, my diaphragm is moving down. Only diaphragm is moving down, that's why my stomach is bulging out. If you are able to correlate like this, you will be able to explain much better to the people. Likewise, the only part of your body which is both voluntary and involuntary, this is the most scientific, most intelligent part of the anatomy and physiology is, imagine how beautifully those yoga masters or the ancient sages would have the knowledge of yoga, anatomy, physiology, the spiritual science, the Ayurveda science and the martial arts, all of them together. So they used to study. So imagine how much importance they are given for pranayama. If you are studying this breathing technique, you will understand why. If you hold your breath for certain time, you can do it voluntarily for about 1 minute or so. Maximum duration of breath holding was around 5 minutes underwater holding. It's a Guinness Book of World Record. But normally it is less. So till you hold your breath is under your voluntary control. When you are holding your breath, there is a less of oxygen. Less of oxygen in the blood, body sends information to the brainstem saying that, okay, I am having less oxygen in the body, do something. So it will stimulate you to breathe in. If you are not doing it by voluntarily holding your breath, body will say, okay, now at this point in time, after 30 seconds, 40 seconds or 1 minute, according to your body type, body says, now it is done. I will take control on my breathing. Then you breathe in. So that is involuntary. So breathing is very vital part of yoga studies, where it is both involuntary and voluntary. By doing this balance of involuntary and voluntary, actually you are impacting influencing the mind. So mind is getting influenced or corrected or balanced or streamlined by focusing on the breathing. This, most of the Western audience will never understand this. The depth of yoga, that depth of yoga can be a platform of a psychology, psychotherapy technique to control the mind, the thought dissociation technique. So how beautifully breathing can be modulated, used in a way to either stimulate the brain or thought process or reduce the thought process in overthinking individuals. So in that there are breathing techniques which can be divided into hyperventilation breathing and hypoventilation. Hyperventilation, you are throwing out more carbon dioxide, like Ujjayi Pranayama, Kapalabhati, hyperventilation. Nadi Shodhana Pranayama, Chandra Anuloma Viloma, simple nostril breathing is hypoventilation. It will not have any harm on your body. But all this, usually all the yoga processes should be studied under a trained yoga teacher Why we'll say that? Because we don't want you to harm your body by overdoing things. Like for example, one of the demonstration of BKS Iyengar, he will do Hanumanasana without prior warm up exercises. He will tear his hamstring muscles. That is there on the record. You can go and study of that. To please the Guru, he stretched himself to the extent that he hurt his hamstrings, and it was there forever for him. Hanumanasana he did. So we suggest you not to overdo things without the guidance of a yoga teacher. That's what we are creating the module like asanas and these modules for you to have a basic understanding at least. Now after you study and go from the designated school or college of study of yoga, then you will become a basic student. Then you will start working on, and then the experience of you connecting with the different individuals, different patients, you will get to know. So that innate experience we want to give it to you in the beginning itself. So it will save at least a few years of yours by adopting a series of teachers who are from different streams and who are elite in their own work. And this knowledge is coming to you, and you are very lucky to have this yoga teachers training.